Hello and welcome. It is All for United WFC. I've not been here for a while. It's unbelievable. I've been over on the other side for quite a while. Now look at this twice in a week. So things are starting to return back to normal. Football's on its way back. And as it can only be on a Wednesday night, it is a fans forum. And we have literally gone out there to get the creme de la creme of the panels, and here they are. So let's have a quick hello John, how are you? Let's have a quick hello to everyone. Sarah, lovely to have you here again. You were on the men's channel as well at the weekend. How are you getting on?
I'm good. Yep, it's good to be back. I feel like I can't remember the last time I was on this one, so
I don't know the feeling, although the answer was Monday, so who knew? Charlie, how are you getting on?
Yeah, good, thank you. Leicestershire schools have broken up for the holidays today, loads of them, so I'm on top of the world.
Outrageous. We've still got a week to go, so don't rub it in too much. And Helen, how are you getting on?
Yeah, good, thank you. Busy, but yeah.
Excellent. That is what we like to hear. And as you can see already, we do have another person on their way. So we like that. We love a late entry. Love that. It's great fun. So we will be seeing them soon. But let's say hello to the rest of you that are in the chat already. We've got Mr. John Neville. Good to see you, sir. All for United WFC there and there as well. Like and subscribe if you're new around here. And yes, it's me, Jennifer. It's me. I'm back. For better or worse. And hello, Chris, and hello, Dave. So, we're just saying to the girls as we were having our chat, there's not really a main sort of topic that we're going for today. We are literally here just to talk about Man United women because Connor's been running it the way that Connor runs it. He's been getting the journalists on who pretend they know everything. He's been getting the other people in that pretend they know, but we know where it's at. It's all about the fans. It's all about your opinions. Hello, Highlane. So we're going to have a little chat about the coming and goings that have happened here. It massively outweighs on the one side. So I'm just going to ask about that. We've got Tounkara Cascarino, Emily Ramsey, Jade Moore, Tara Bourne, Martin Howe, Alessia Russo, and Anna Battier. 8 people have left already, and they're the ones that we know for definite that are guaranteed, and just Gemma Evans in. Is that normal, do you think? Because, I mean, I keep thinking back to it. I keep thinking, well, actually, yes, this is something we tend to do quite a lot of. We get rid of people first, and then we seem to bring people in. That seems to be the United way, but I don't know. I might have forgotten it. Sarah, is this how you remember transfer windows generally taking part?
Yeah, it doesn't surprise me, to be honest. They like to kind of keep us on our toes. I was thinking back to, God, I think it was 2013 with the men. I can't remember like how many left, but did we only make one signing that year? I think it was very quiet and it was kind of a last minute thing, so it wouldn't surprise me at all. Yeah, Fellaini, yeah. And it wouldn't surprise me if we kind of leave it late again. I'm actually surprised that we've brought somebody in on the men's team already. But yeah, it doesn't really surprise me. It's kind of been frustrating, I think, the last few weeks, but hopefully things will start to pick up a bit now.
Absolutely. And Charlie, is that what you would say as well? Is that what you see? Lanzel's already put here, rather have all the outs done, and then we'll know where we're at. Is that what you see?
Yeah, I think so. And I do think that since the women reformed, I think this has tended to have been how it's gone. So even when they came up from the championship season, there was the announcement about, you know, all the players that were going first. They did that fairly early doors, so that's not unusual. Obviously, I think probably the little bit of anxiety people have is obviously it's not just squad players or bench warmers going this time, but then obviously that happens as your squad needs to improve in quality and you have better players therefore go and better players come in. And the Martin Howe one's interesting for me. I'll be interested to see who comes in to replace him, because even if they promote from within, so someone like Charlotte Healy might be really well placed to take that role, but then they'll need somebody else in, I think, because that will take her away a little bit from the devs and perhaps the lonely players. Not a worry really, and I won't really be worried if it lags a bit in the summer because of the World Cup with the season starting so late. I think it doesn't necessarily mean that United haven't planned any contingency plans or haven't got players ready. They just don't want to announce them yet, and that's always been United, waiting for the opportune moment. just making people stressed and then giving them a little crumb. So I wouldn't be surprised if maybe next week there is another announcement at some point.
Yeah. Do you think, Helen, that part of it for us as fans is just that we look at some of the other teams like Chelsea, who just seem to be buying up anybody who's free? They're like that player who plays Monopoly, who just buys everything they land on. And you just end up going, oh, get out. Why are you playing, you annoying little thing, you? And that seems to be what Chelsea are doing at the moment. Just literally, buy that, buy that, buy that, buy that. And we're hoping they're going to run out of money at some point and eventually get bankrupted because they landed on Park Lane, but it doesn't seem to be happening. Do you think a little bit of it is that, the fact that we see other clubs making these signings and we still just seem to be stationary, even though deep down in our mind we know there must be signings being made?
Yeah, I think what I've noticed with other clubs is they do all their outgoings in sort of one couple of paragraphs on the website as a tweet or something on their social media, whereas we like to, we have in the past done a whole individual one for each player, which I think we're continuing to do a little. But yeah, just the lack of incomings is a bit strange for the fans when you see the other clubs buying up everyone. But certainly with Chelsea, they've always had multi-millionaire, perhaps billionaire owners. So I know there is money at United, but whether they put it in the women's team is another thing.
Absolutely. Very fair point. Now, I told you we had somebody who was on their way in and she's patiently waiting just behind the scenes. So drum roll, everybody. Here she comes. It is... You should know it was on the tweet, I'm sure. It's Emma. Hello, Emma. How you doing?
Hello. I'm good. Sorry I'm late.
Yeah. No worries. You've not missed much at all. Only Sarah, Charlie. Well, we probably came in halfway through Charlie speaking, to be honest with you. But yes, we are currently talking just about the fact that we've made 8 outgoings so far, just the one signing named. How are you feeling about this sort of thing? There's talk about potentially our signings might not be announced till after the World Cup. Is there also a danger that actually we might not be buying these players until after the World Cup, and therefore there's a chance that prices could potentially get inflated if they have good World Cups, or we might get people nicked from under our noses?
I don't know, really. I feel like we've probably got some targets already, I'd like to think. But I don't know. I think the World Cup will be definitely a big thing, but hopefully it doesn't inflate the prices too much. But yeah, I don't really know. It's just, it'll be what it'll be, won't it?
It will be, really. It will be, really. It's not too much about from that. But are you worried at all about the fact that we don't have many signings coming in at the moment?
Not really, because I think everyone's just busy, really. So no players will be wanting to be doing business with clubs if they're all focused on the internationals. So I think it'll come, just slowly.
Fair points. So we're going to run through some of the exits, some of the people that have gone out of the door. We're not going to sit and spend lots of time on the Russo and Honor situation. I think we've all known about that, and it's probably time to move on from those particular moments. So I'm just going to cross those 2 off of my list now and wish them all farewell. But I do want to talk about the 5 players that sort of have gone. We will mention Martin Howe as well when we get to it. So let's begin with, should we say Tara Bourne? Tara Bourne, I feel like, is a good place to start. Obviously, she's been on loan, went to Blackburn, hasn't really had any appearances, so to speak, for United as such. Is she just a victim of the fact that there's not yet an established pathway from the youth team to the first team, Sarah?
I think probably, that is the case. I can't remember. Is she 25? I can't remember how old she is now.
Charlie's only 19. I don't even think she's 20 yet. Is she, Tara Bourne? Is she really young?
Oh, I must be getting my players mixed up there. But so that kind of throws what I was going to say out the window. But it's, I mean, she's been, like you say, she hasn't really broken through. Not too sure how she got on loan last season. I wasn't really keeping an eye on it, but it's probably not hugely surprising. Don't know what else to say about that one, really. But
not a problem at all. Charlie, for you, where do we stand on Tara Bourne? I feel like she did all right at Blackburn. You know, her name did pop up a few times, but there still just doesn't. It's not just us. I think in general there doesn't seem to be that pathway from academy to first team.
Yeah. There's not, and I think even if there was, the position that she would want to play in, being known defence, I think mostly centre back, she's just going to really struggle there for us anyway. I think that's since the reformation, that's a position where United have always been really strong. So championship season coming up, they had Amy Turner and Millie Turner, which is always going to be difficult to break into. And she's been sort of in and around the first team squad for a couple of years, I think, been doing training with them whilst being on loan. So they kind of go back and forth between the two, don't they? To make sure they're getting the high quality training as well as playing regular football. It was always going to be difficult because then you have Maya coming in, who's a ready-made world-class centre back, and then she's got Millie, and then you've got Aoife when she's fit, and you had Tounkara there, and now Gemma Evans. So she's just not going to get a look, and it's people might feel a little bit sentimental about it because she was in the academy, but you can't risk it. If you want to make quick progress, it's not something you can risk by just popping her in for the sake of it. And there's also no point in wasting her time. So if she can go somewhere and get regular football, perhaps play for a club where they're then going to gain promotion to the WSL, hopefully soon, or as the league hopefully expands, and that's probably the best thing for her.
Yeah, it's a really interesting one. I mean, Jennifer's already put here, Tara Who, never noticed the name anywhere, and is this part of the problem? There is such a, I don't want to say disconnect because it's not a disconnect, but there's just not that stepping stone. There's just not that ability. I mean, as people know, I spend a lot of time at Stevenage, and there is a clear pathway. You know, the distance between the first team and the development side is not huge, insofar as it's much easier, I think, to step into those sort of squads, those sort of first teams. We just don't have that here at United, do we? We don't have it in the WSL as a whole. We don't really seem to see that many ready-made people coming through from the youth team. And I feel like, I mean, how do we make that happen? Because as it stands, it's almost like we are just hoping that at some point we're going to get a diamond in the rough who is ready to play, but that anybody else is just effectively never going to make it as a Manchester United starter unless they go away and come back with experience.
Yeah, I think maybe perhaps part of it is how well United did. I mean, they entered into the Championship when they were formed, but they were probably too good a team to be in that league. And then, of course, they won it at a canter and have comfortably been in the WSL since. So I think for the players that maybe are perhaps in between Championship and WSL level, they're too good for the Championship, not good enough for the WSL. I don't know. Maybe that's part of it. There hasn't been a longevity in the Championship with the United team for them to play in the first team of United's team, and without going on loan to build up experience and get better, and then be into the WSL through promotion. Whereas, because United's success in the top tier has been, we need ready-made, excellent players. We can't afford the time. So I think that's part of why the pathway isn't there so much. Sort of a victim of your own success.
Yeah. No, absolutely. I think that's probably about right. And Emma, I mean, Dave's put here, Tara Bourne can't be that good if they've let her go. And I just kind of don't feel that it's necessarily that they're not that good. It's just that they're not ready. Because they've not had that ability to play at the level, because they've not had that chance to bed in. They're not going to be given a chance to play because, as Lanzell puts, there's just not enough games. So, if you're going to play one of the 22 league games that there is, it's really difficult, because how do you break up a team to give these youngsters a chance when you've got to battle and claw for every single point? It's going to be a really difficult decision to make, isn't it?
Yeah, I think it's hard because, like you said, there's not that many games. And I think, especially when we have a team that's as strong as it is hard to come in and make a claim to be part of the team. But I think it is a shame that Tara's left without a real chance at United. But I hope that she goes and does well somewhere else. If the league expands as well and we have more games, then I'd like to see more youngsters in particular come into the team. But yeah, I don't know. It's a kind of a tricky one, this one.
I think you can be like, with it being United and historically having academy players through the men. I think it's normal to feel like the same thing should be happening in the women's game, like just because that's what's happened at United, isn't it? So you feel like that should be transferable to the women's side of things. But at the same time, I wouldn't have wanted them to pick her for a couple of games just for the sake of it, just because she's an academy product, and it ends badly for us.
And for them,
I would also say. Because there's other players that have had a chance. Like Kerry Jones has played games and she had a good loan at Leicester. Niamh Murphy's had a go. So there's been players that have had a go and she's not. And it literally just might be she's not good enough. And that's it.
Yeah, I mean, Joseph's put in here, the WSL academies are just not good, because look at Barcelona. They do their fixtures and their academies will play. Even France do. He mentions PSG do pick their 18-year-old players. I mean, it's not like May Le Tissier is old. We're not saying that young players don't get the opportunity to play. It's just that's not a pathway. We had to buy May Le Tissier because she'd had a season with Brighton already, so she had the ability to play. She was proven in the WSL, and I think that's just where the drama is, isn't it? It's if you've not had the chance to be proven, where do you get that chance?
Yeah, but that's the thing, and you can't give everyone a chance. Like the men's game is bigger, so more numerically academy products make it through, but if you looked at proportionally it might not be any better. And also you could argue that United reformed, brought back quite a lot of their academy players who were young. Tudi was 18 and look at her now. Like, they brought them back in and they're playing week in, week out. Zelly's playing, Millie Turner's playing, Kirsty Hansen's playing, so they've done that. I would argue you could look at it that way as well and say players they had to release because there was no other choice, they brought back quickly and they are starting every week. Yeah,
no, absolutely. I think there's a lot there, isn't there? A lot to unpack when it comes to the academy, and I don't know. I just don't think they're necessarily going to get that time. You look at the Conti Cup, you would argue perhaps that would be the competition in which you would maybe want to see youngsters being blooded. But the problem is that they use the Conti Cup to try and keep some of the players happy that haven't appeared. So as a result, instead, we're playing some of maybe the older players or some of the ones that aren't getting much game time, which doesn't really leave any spots for youngsters really to come in and have a chance to see how they would fit in with senior players. So I don't know. But as far as Tara Bourne goes, anyone else would like to add onto that one about Tara, or shall we move on? We'll move on. Okay, good. Jade Moore. It was less, more, less, wasn't it? Because we just saw less and less and less of Jade as time went on. She had a great song, but didn't really see much of her again either. How do we feel about the exit of Jade Moore? I mean, I don't really think it affects the team as such, but again, another player who, and I think really as we start going through the next couple of names, just another player who really was sort of there but didn't get used much. Sarah, why not?
Yeah, not sure really. I know she's one of the older players as well. So, yeah, I don't know. I mean, obviously Skinner had worked with her before, so obviously she was a player that he really rated. And then she did score in, I think, the Conti Cup, wasn't it, before she went on loan. So she did have her moments. But yeah, I'm not surprised to see her go. I think we spoke about it on a previous show about whether we would keep players or not when they came back, and I think I said that she would probably be let go, and so yeah, I'm not surprised about that. Yeah, I'm not too sure maybe why she didn't get the game time, but then again, we could say that about a lot of players last season as well.
We will come to Emma Watson, William. Don't worry about that. She's on my list of potential people that might come in. So yeah, don't worry about that. She will be one of the ones that we speak about. Don't worry. Charlie, where do you sit on the whole Jade Moore thing? Because again, a reasonable player, but just not someone that was ever really going to get game time with the players that we already had in the midfield.
Yeah, and she was brought in last January when we were crippled by injury and we just needed bodies. So I'm sure, and it's not doubt, like she had an amazing career and she's been a bit of a trailblazer really for women's football. Her and Jo Potter have done a lot during their careers. But again, I think wouldn't have been, even in January when we were desperate for players, if there was someone better available that we would have spent money on, Mark would have gone for them instead. So again, it's just a bit like a few of these players. It's like they were just put in to be a body. I think we needed bodies, and that's when she was brought in. Same as Diane Cordwell. And
do you feel that whoever does the signing at United, do you feel like they just misheard Mark Skinner? Like, he was just sat there going, "Oh, we've got all these players out. We just need more," and they just took it the wrong way entirely and just went off and got more.
I think there's also a bit of a misconception that in most of the football teams, men's and women's, that the manager has exclusivity on selecting who the signers are. I just don't think that's the case. I really don't. I don't think in a lot of football clubs that is the case. And also, like I said, she came in at a time when we were crippled by injury. I don't think it was panic, but I think she was free. But we were crippled by injury, and you might go, "Oh, we're crippled by injury. We want a central midfielder. Look at all these world-class players." You're not going to get them. You're not going to get them in January to cover an injury, are you? So it was probably she was available, and we needed somebody, and she was available. I think that was the situation that we were in. She didn't play much. She had a couple of goes in the Conti Cup, but we were awful in the Conti Cup, and that's not just down to her. So I don't feel too emotional about it, to be honest. I'm just on about us getting better. And again, even if I think she was always going to be collateral damage as we became more and more successful. And that's what some of these players are. We're more successful than we've ever been. So players have to fall by the wayside, and it's often going to be the ones that haven't contributed. And whether that's down to them or down to not being picked, either way, they've not contributed. And I don't get stressed about players that we haven't seen play. I can't miss something that I've not seen. It's all hindsight. It's all they could have done this and they could have done that. Well, they didn't. So I'm not too worried.
No, I think I tend to agree with you there. John, you're quite right. Helen got it. I saw Helen having a little snigger when it was all being said. Can't say about the rest. But they'll watch it back. Charlie watches it back religiously. She'll watch back, check her performance, see how she's got on, and she'll be gutted. She'll be gutted that she's missed. I can guarantee that. So don't worry too much. Jennifer's saying, are we supposed to be squad building or churning the butter? I'm not sure I know what you mean on that one, I'm afraid. You might have to help me out. But yeah, and Ellie will be squad building, but because of the World Cup, it's a slow process. I guess it's always a slow process. It's Manchester United. Helen, Jade Moore. She was never going to be a starter over the likes of Zelly, over Ladd, over Toon. Really any surprise that in the end she decided to go elsewhere and try and get some more football?
No, not really. I think she probably had something to offer as an experienced player in the dressing room. She's been there and done it, a bit like Rachel Williams, but I think her fitness has probably let her down. When we signed her, she was still injured, wasn't she, I think, from playing at Orlando. So we have sort of had to wait for her to get fit first. And then what meagre appearances she did make, she was all right. Nothing out of this world, but I think, just a dependable person, maybe for the team and delivering messages perhaps from management to the team. She had a good relationship with Mark Skinner, I expect. So, I think she probably did her job, and time for everyone to move on, sort of thing.
No, absolutely. And what a lovely little nickname that would be, Meagermore. Love that. Meagermore with her meager appearances. What a great usage of that word. Love it. Emma, anything really for you to add on Jade Moore? Anything that, do you feel sorry for her? Do you think it was just what Charlie said? We just needed some more people in, and that's really all she ever was, a bit of a backup? How do you stand on you?
I think she did well when she got a chance to play, and I think she served the purpose that we brought her for. I think she was maybe a little bit unfortunate with the game time after the injury crisis sort of resolved. But I think because she didn't play many minutes, I think that's why it's not that emotional that she's leaving. I think it's probably best for everyone that she moves on and finds somewhere else to get minutes and play more football. But I think, yeah, I think she did well when she was here, but I don't think she'll be missed in the sense of her skills, for example.
No, I think I agree with you. I'll say it. I'll put her in the same level as Jackie Gronin. At the end of the day, look, we did without her. Don't worry about it, have we? Same as Senior Burton. All these other ones, as Charlie said, they haven't really done anything to massively help the team. So, yeah, no major problems there. Jennifer, thank you. Makes sense now. It's been a really long year. A really long year. Sporty. I think Rach replaced Moore as the most experienced, or the experience rather, in the dressing room, and has contributed at important times this season, which is true. And Joseph says, my issue with United Women is they don't buy players or an upgrade to the ones you have. It's helping at all. And apart from Mayer, none of the new signings guarantee a starter. Yeah, could be true. Yeah, not too sure on that one. Is it that they're not an upgrade? I don't know. You'd argue the ones we did last year were upgrades because look what we managed to do. We finished second. So, don't know. I think there's an argument on both ways for that. But, yeah, that's Jade Moore. Cascarino, she's gone off back from her. Put my teeth back in, hang on. Unseen. Estelle Cascarino has gone back to her parent club, PSG. Any surprises there? Again, it's another player, and this is going to be the theme that's come in. We haven't seen much of. Barely done anything. And as a result, I think maybe one, maybe two appearances from Cascarino, and now she's back at PSG again. What was the point, Sarah?
Not sure, really. I mean, because she was only on loan, you could say, well, yeah, of course she's gone back. But there was talk that maybe we might buy her at the end, and I think it's a shame that we couldn't have explored the possibility of bringing her in permanently, because she clearly enjoyed her time with us, and I was very impressed with what we did see of her. And I just think with the extra competitions this season, hopefully we'll do reasonably well in the Champions League. But I think that would have been we need more squad depth anyway. So I'm a bit disappointed that we didn't maybe try and keep her on permanently. Whether PSG would have been happy with that, I don't know. They did let her come to us in the first place, but yeah, that one's a bit of a disappointment for me. I would have liked to see more of her. And with the other two players that we brought in January, like obviously there were injury issues with them, which is why we didn't see as much of them as we otherwise would have. But I was frustrated that we didn't see more of Cascarino, considering she was fit and ready to go all that time.
Yeah, I think generally I tend to agree with that one. Charlie Lanzell's put here that no, that's not Lanzell. Try that one again. There we go. He said he'd sign her as cover for Lad, as he thinks we missed a trick on it. Can we miss a trick on someone that we really haven't seen play?
She was the only one that I found a bit baffling, to be honest, because lots of other players that we've got in on loans quite clearly going to be just short-term things. So Moore, Cordwell, just short-term things. Whereas Cascarino is a different caliber of player to them. So I did find that a bit strange, if I'm being honest. But again, I can't always help but come back to the fact that we did so well. And we keep saying in such a short season, to risk upsetting the apple cart, it's maybe not worth it. But that was a strange one. I do find that odd. Like I said, just because of where the club she came from, the caliber of player that she is, she's an international. She's a good player. So it was just strange. I don't really know what went on there, and that is perhaps just what makes me think is it another example of wanted to get a player in to freshen things up, so someone was just picked who was available, and it wasn't necessarily with a long-term forward plan for them. I'm noticing though how many players in January we sign that are injured. Like, how long is that going to go on for? Buy a fit player, please. Get a fit player in who can actually impact things straight away.
Exactly this. I mean, we had the same thing. Senior Brune was the same thing. She was injured. Riviere, I know we brought her in, but she was injured to begin with as well. You know, it's almost like they only come back to us because they know we've got a good medical department or something like that, because it's really bizarre. You're quite right. Helen, Paul Greaves has put here, Skinner wanted Cascarino, spoke highly of her, but didn't play her. Baffling. Charlie had mentioned earlier that sometimes it looks as though it's not just the manager who has the only exclusive say on who comes into the club. Is this one of those situations? Is this one of those situations where Cascarino was brought in, potentially not by Skinner, but for Skinner, and that he was just being polite, saying, you know, yep, she's a wonderful player and all those sorts of things? Did he just not want to mess around with the side that was doing well? Why didn't we see any of Estelle Cascarino, in your opinion?
Ooh, my opinion.
What's it all about? That's why we're here.
Well, without knowing any of the facts.
Exactly. This is not what fans do. That's what Twitter's all about, isn't it? Just throw out your opinion without having a bleeding clue what's going on.
Unsubstantiated.
Yeah.
I mean, not upsetting the winning team. He didn't make a lot of changes, injuries aside. Perhaps she didn't show what he needed her to in training. I don't know. Conjecture.
I mean, listen, it's short and sweet, but it's understandable, because this is just it, isn't it? And I think this is what Charlie's saying as well. It's baffling. You know, this was someone who, to all intents and purposes, should have had the pedigree to be able to go out there and play football for United and be an upgrade to help us raise our level. So it's just bizarre, isn't it, that in the end, she made maybe one or two appearances and it didn't come close to disjointing the lad Zelim Toon with the occasional appearance of Vilda Barisa, quadruplets, I suppose, in the middle of the park. It's just bizarre, isn't it?
Yeah, and maybe she wasn't going to be strong enough for the physicality of the league. Who knows?
Maybe. It's not an easy question, and it's only going to get worse, if I'm honest with you, when I ask you the next one. Jennifer's put Mr. Skinner kept faith, very polite. Mr. Skinner kept faith with a winning team, and again, I can understand it. High Lane says, we've seen before that Skinner really has a problem when it comes to his midfield during games. It's the one area of the pitch he refuses to change up unless he's forced to. I mean, I'd say he was pretty much like that for most of it, with the exception of the forward line. And Skinner our plays when we played PSG last season. That's true as well. We don't know who we've recruited yet. Perhaps that's why Cascar isn't staying. That's also true. Emma, how do you feel about the fact that it is a no for Cascarino?
I think she's definitely the player that we all expected to see more of. You know, I'm surprised that, I mean, I wasn't expecting her to come in and change the team, because no new signing's going to do that. But I'm surprised that we saw as little of her as we did. But again, I guess it's kind of a bit like with Moore. It's like, how can you really miss a player you never really saw? I think it's strange that she got so little playing time. But I don't know, the whole thing of why didn't we see more of her? I guess it's the same as why don't we see more of Vilda, or why don't we see more of Aoife? I guess no one really knows aside from Skinner. But yeah, I think I wanted to see more of her, but I think it's probably for the best that she's gone back if she wasn't going to get the game time here.
I feel like it's Nalsund. I feel like that's the one. That's the one he was wanting to come in and slot in when she was fit. Because the first game where she was available, she came straight into the lineup. And it doesn't matter that it was Lewis. It doesn't matter. she came straight in.
Yeah.
So
And I
for
was going to
me,
come to her later, Charlie, but
yeah,
as you've gone into it now, throw it in there because
I
we've
think
only got
she's the
2
one.
players that are contracted to 2026. One of them is Ella Toon and the other one is Lisa Nelson. So
Yeah,
that does point to what you're saying there, lends real credibility to the fact
yeah,
that he clearly wants her to be a big part of the midfield.
yeah. I feel like I think was it about half an hour before she went off injured, and she was just running the show. It was so easy for her. It's not always easy to go to these sides, these sorts of grounds. It was really disappointing when she got injured, but I just feel like she's the one that he wants to be playing. And when she's fit for the start of the new season, that will be like a new signing. She will be like a brand new signing. Cascarino might be not be staying. Jade Moore might not be staying because Nelson's going to be there, and she's the one to look to going forwards.
Absolutely. We've still got Zell in there, still got Lad as well. We will get to those in a moment. I don't know what you're saying, Mr. Frodo, sir. Giant glass reminds me of the hobbits drinking beer on Lord of the Rings. If you've got beer that looks like orange jade, it's a bit of a worry, but it is a big jug. We have had this discussion before. It is the size of my head, which means I've either got a very big head or a very small head, and it's not as big as you think it is. But there we go. Emma, what say you? We've done that, and then Charlie got involved. Never mind. See, I got distracted by conversations of massive glasses. Who knew? So that was Cascarino. The one I really wanted to talk about was Tounkara. Now, she actually made 5 appearances for the club, which has surprised me because I could only recall 2 off the top of my head. So I was absolutely gobsmacked that she made 5. That blew my mind. But again, it's another one, and this is like 2 players now in terms of Tounkara and Cascarino, who were players that were brought in. She was actually contracted until 2024. I was running through my list. She's actually supposed to be contracted till next year, and she's been let go now. Again, that's a bit weird. Why do we think it is that we've let her, number one, go for free, not asking for any money or trying to sell her? Why is it that Tounkara was brought in, looked like she was going to have a good opportunity, and now it's just been sent away? Sarah, what on earth is happening there with Tounkara? Because again, it's a bit weird. Why are we bringing in players, not playing them, and then just getting rid of them straight away?
It's very weird, and I really don't know why. I mean, why did we let her go for free? I mean, why have we let anybody go for free this season? It just seems to be the thing that we're doing nowadays. But yeah, I didn't realize.
The others had run out of contract, but she hasn't, and that's what I'm getting at with that. You know,
Yeah.
Everybody else, we've allowed their contract to run out, which of
Mhm.
course is a different argument. But this one, the contract hasn't. It's clearly been ended a year early, so it feels a bit bizarre to let her go for nothing.
It is bizarre. I mean, like we kind of got the impression that she was going to be a big part of the team. Now, obviously, our defense has been, phenomenal, and it's been hard to break into that. But yeah, I don't know. I mean, I'm not surprised. She needs game time, so that's clearly why she's left. And it has been affecting her international career as well, not getting picked for France, when obviously a lot of people would have seen her in the Euros last summer and thought, makes sense that we've signed her. She's a good player. I was surprised too that she'd made 5 appearances, because the only one that I can really remember off the top of my head is, I think, the Conti Cup. I think it was Everton, and this probably isn't a reflection on her general abilities, but I remember not being too impressed with her in that game. I just didn't think she had a great game. I don't know, maybe others will disagree, but I don't know, maybe it's just one of those things where it hasn't worked out, and maybe Mark Skinner hasn't been as impressed with her as maybe he thought he might be. Or yeah, it is really strange though, because you would think that maybe she might have got another shot this season to get more game time with the extra competitions that we're in. So it's that, to me, is the strangest departure so far.
I entirely agree. I mean, Charlie, Sporty's put because we replaced her with a free transfer. Is that a reason to allow Tounkara to go for free? What's your intuition about why it is that we allow to leave her contract a year early and not ask for any money?
I think, and again, I don't know the ins and outs of it. Literally, no one does except the people who make the decisions. But I think unless in women's football at the moment, unless you're an exceptional footballer, you're not going to bring in much of a transfer fee. Not really, still, not much of anything. And it could have just been a case of no one's willing to pay what we would want for her. And actually, if we just terminate a contract and let her go, we might be saving 80 grand or whatever it is, 70 grand on wages, and we give that to someone else. So it might even be that. It could be that someone going, we'll give you 50 grand for her, and they're going, or we won't give you anything. We're going to see it out. So United have gone, well, we'll just let her go and we'll get the money back on the wages because it's more than what she's worth. I don't know. It could be that. And the reason she's not had an opportunity, well, there's three of them. There's three reasons she's not had an opportunity to play much football. One's Maya, one's Millie, and one's Aoife. No, 5. Maya, Millie, Aoife against Arsenal. So that's why she's not played. And she's had the odd chance. I think she was poor, what we saw of her. I think she was bullied a little bit against Durham. You could argue all of them were, but she was part of it. And again, we come back to it. There are very few games. I don't want them risking it. I would rather fans question the opportunities and Skinner stick to his guns when we got Champions League football than just merry-go-round with people having a go just because they fancy it and then us not be as successful as we are. There's a lot of talk about it's only the midfield where he didn't make changes. There's lots of positions he didn't make changes. Actually, the right-hand side of the attacking lineup was basically the only place that wasn't set in stone. If we're all dead honest, that was the only place because I had a team that was really working, and there was no better defensive unit in this country and one of the top 2 or 3 defensive units in European women's football than ours. I will live and die by that. Why change that?
I completely agree.
And they also, like Millie Turner came up with brilliant goals. Aoife Mannion was one of the main reasons we won that game against Arsenal. Like, why throw someone else in there just for the sake of it?
Yeah. No,
sorry.
I can't disagree with you in the slightest, because it's what I was arguing all last year. It is why change a side that's doing so well. So it does make complete sense. But Helen, by that same token, why are we buying these players and then not giving them a chance to play? It's like, these are players that come with pedigree. When you talk about Cascarino and Tuncara, these are international players that are established in their countries. They're not players that have just come up from an academy. They're not players that haven't shown they can play football. How is it that they're getting not even just minimal game time, like no game time at all? How are we allowing that to happen? Why are we buying them if we're not going to use them?
I think the perhaps what would you call it? Injury reserves, to put it nicely. And they get a handful of opportunities because that's all we can afford them. You lose even 2 games in the WSL, that could be a title chance gone. And I might be wrong, but I think Tounkara played in the pre-season game against Everton. And from what I saw, obviously it's a pre-season game, practically her first appearance, but what stood out for me was she just kept passing back to Mary and seemingly no communication, and it looked like Mary didn't appreciate it. So I don't know if she really had time or was able to even learn the language. Did she know much English? It's, of course, these foreign players coming to a different country. It's a whole culture shock for them. So am I right in thinking she had a broken wrist?
She did at one point, yeah.
She was always wearing a wrist brace or a cast or something, wasn't she? So
Jamie Vardy, always on.
Yeah. So I feel a bit bad for her because she seemed like she got on well with the team and was a good teammate, but you can't afford to be sentimental, I don't think, when you've got the team that performed the way they did. So,
No.
and if she wasn't happy just playing the minimal role she did, then yeah, time to move on again.
Absolutely, and it's a shame, but again, it's really bizarre we're getting these players in. So, Emma, Joseph has asked here, who can explain to me the reason behind United sending Tounkara out and bringing Evans in? Tounkara is far better than Evans, and you let her go instead of bringing an upgrade. You bring someone below Tounkara level. Are we in danger? We will move on. In fact, I'm going to ask that question in a minute about Gemma Evans, because that's kind of where we're going to go. But yeah, Tounkara, obviously no longer part of the squad. Do you feel like it's harsh? Do you think maybe she just wanted out because she knew she wasn't playing football and she wanted to? Why is it you think we let her go a year early?
I think it is her would have wanted to go away because she wasn't getting the game time. So I wouldn't have been surprised if she pushed for the move. But I was surprised by how little she played, considering obviously she is seasoned international and she did seem to get on with the team well. But considering the fact that how little game time she had here impacted her getting selected for the France squad. Obviously, she wasn't originally going to the World Cup. So I wouldn't have been surprised if she just wanted out and that's why we let her go. But if a club like PSG is in for her, like the rumours say, I would have expected us to hope for a fee for that, but I don't know. It's strange.
Very, very true. I agree. The last person we need to have a quick chat about is Rambo. I don't want to spend ages having this conversation because we have spoken on this channel a fair bit about Emily Ramsey. But has anyone got anything really they'd like to add to that? Obviously, she spent most of her life that I've known her out on loan. So, again, not really much surprise. She's never going to take over from Mary Earps. It was really just a question of who was going to be the number two. And the answer to that question appears to be not Emily Ramsey. So have we got anything to add really to that very quick summary of Rambo?
I think she just wanted to be number one at another team, so had to move on.
Yeah, no, absolutely. And what you said in the private chat, do you want to share that with everyone? Because I thought a really good point.
Just that those that have left on good terms and they've put good messages. I know it's a bit of PR as well, so but they seem to be liked in the team, and I think that's part of the players we go for. I think a lot of the players, and Mark himself has said, they need to be the right fit for the team environment and everything, the right person as well as the right player.
Anyone here think Rambo should have stayed?
I think she would have been a really good number two, like Sergio Romero levels of number two. But
would you
unfortunately, when you're because she's bigger. She's bigger, and that is important in women's football. But unfortunately, women's football as a goalkeeper number two, you're not still on like $100,000 a week, as well as not playing. So, like I said, she's gonna. Is she gone to Everton? Is it Everton she's gone to?
I think so. I wasn't announced.
So, yeah, so she's going to go and she's going to play there every week, isn't she? And she's been picked for the Lionesses camps until injury, but I think she's a bit of a backup for that, isn't she? So it's been the right thing for her, and she's not going to get in front of Mary. I'm hoping that means that Mary is definitely staying for at least her extra year. Otherwise, that will look mental if she's not. So hopefully it means that as well. But yeah, it's a really good move for her. She's one of the originals, isn't she, from 2018? So there is an extra little bit of sentiment there with her.
Yeah, no, absolutely. So let's take a look at Gemma Evans very quickly, because I did want to get onto this. And Joseph just put on there about how Evans is not even at Tounkara's level. I quite agree with Sporty, which he said here. which was that's not even giving Gemma Evans a chance. Come on, are we in danger of going down the Rachel Williams route here, where so many people were like, "Oh my goodness, here we are with another player who can't do anything," and then before you know it, everyone's like, "Well, she could be the best player that we've brought in this year." Because look at this, she scored a bunch of goals, clutch goals, important times. How do we see this signing of Gemma Evans? I mean, as we know, she's a defender by trade, but as Charlie's just said, we've got a back three that's set in stone and a right back that we need to decide on. But it's there, it's set in space. What do we reckon about Gemma Evans as an addition to this club?
I think she needs to be given a chance. I don't think it's fair to write off players before they've done anything for us. And her, I didn't realize till I read the other day, I think she was like third highest in the league last season for blocks or something like that. So, she definitely has qualities that could be really important for us. And then, of course, she's used to playing with Hayley Ladd for Wales in defence, and the two of them have a really good partnership apparently. So I think that'll be interesting as well to see how they can link up together for United. So I think, definitely have to give her a chance.
I just wonder if, when a player comes in, with a name that people have heard of and plays for, Tounkara as an example, came from PSG, and people get in their head this idea that they're going to come in and they're going to be world class, and then it doesn't happen, and then it feels like you've missed something that actually didn't ever happen. You didn't experience it. It might have happened, it might not, but we didn't experience it. But you build up in your head that this is a world class player, they're going to be starting centre back, and they're not, and it almost is like a bit of a grieving process, like you just never had the opportunity to see it, and it's almost then like projected as being cross at Gemma Evans for coming in. But I'm not looking at Gemma Evans as being someone who is going to displace Maya or Millie. And I think people perhaps looked at Tounkara as being someone who was going to come in and displace a starting centre-back, whoever they were at the time, and then it didn't happen. It was disappointing. Whereas this is just a very different signing for me. And I'll put my hand up and say, this time last year, wasn't it, Bazza, we were talking about Paris, when Paris and Rachel Williams came in. I think I said on one of these shows, just a bit underwhelming, is what I said. I was quite honest about it. And then look what's happened with both of them. I think they both played really important roles. So I've kind of learned from that, and I would hope other people have. And I've always been very much about, they're playing for Man United, they're putting on a red shirt. I'm certainly not going to give them a heck of a kicking before they've even kicked the ball, and even after that as well. Just be ashamed to do so. She's not going to be our only signing. Even if she was the best player in the world, I would hope she wasn't going to be our only signing, because it shows a lack of forward planning. But again, we talk about give her a chance. She may not get one. She may come in and the same thing happens, and she sits on the bench, and that's what she's there to do. But whatever it is, I'm sure she understands what her role is. We just have to wait and see. But again, I fully expect at the start of the season, unless something major happens, it will be Maya and Millie, perhaps Aoife, is what I'm expecting. I'm not expecting Gemma Evans to come in and displace one of them. So I'm not majorly worried about it, really. I'm fairly nonplussed. Good for her. She'll work really hard. She's played for Wales loads, alongside Hayley Ladd, so she can't be all that bad.
Yeah, no, I agree. And Jones was just put here, wow, so Ladd will play now in defence, so she can have a good partnership with Evans. That's not what was said. What we're saying is that she gets on well with Hayley Ladd, so therefore that adds a bit of chemistry. So that's not what was being said. And as Connor rightly says here, speaking of Gemma Evans, if you want to learn more about her, then do check out yesterday's show that Connor did with, I don't know how to say that surname, but as Connor knows, I'm not scared to give it a go. I'm going to say Megan Feringa. That sounds quite good. We'll go with that. So yeah, Megan F. She did a great show with Connor yesterday. So if you want to find out a little bit more about Gemma Evans, come and watch that. And Marcus says, after my Rachel Williams prejudgment last year, I'm just going to keep my mouth shut. To be honest, I think it's kind of where we're all going to go with that one. Helen, what say you? What do you think about young Gemma?
I thought her interview was really refreshing. She's an old-fashioned defender that loves defending. I mean, what's not to like? She's had to do a lot of it in a Reading team that is not as good as our team, so she can only improve. You know, she'll be playing and training with better players. Give her a chance. You know, and the stats about blocks, great. She's going to put her body on the line. She's going, you know, she wants to keep clean sheets. Sounds great. I wondered if she could perhaps play in Hayley Ladd's position, maybe. I know we've said about Millie Turner when she was a midfielder before, because she became sort of a centre-back, but hasn't really gone back into midfield. I don't know if Gemma Evans has any ideas about playing as a midfielder, but
I think she has played as a forward. I don't know when. I just read that somewhere. So.
And if Maya's going to end up being a right back or as cover for right back, we could have another option, you know, for a centre half pairing. And I think she's quite tall, isn't she? I think Gemma Evans, so she could be a threat at set pieces. You never know. I hope she gets a chance.
Fair point. Paul's put the way to progress and improve as a team from season to season is to sign players better than you have already. If you sign bench players, at best you will stagnate. Emma, is there not an argument here, though, on this occasion we've got our starters? We're not likely to sign anyone who's going to improve us necessarily in the centre-back partnerships. So therefore, when you have the likes of Tounkara leaving, you do have to buy some people that are going to sit there on the bench and be ready to come in and take over if necessary.
Yeah, I think there has been a very negative overreaction to Gemma, even though I think she is being signed to fill the gap in the squad depth after Tounkara left. But I think it's wrong to kind of underestimate her, because you never know when a new defender's going to have to step in. Like when Aoife stepped in against Arsenal and put on the best performance. You never know when she's going to do that. And for those who like the argument, she's used to the league and she's got the good defensive stats in the league despite being in a very poor Reading team. So I don't think she'll be as bad as a lot of fans seem to be making out she will be.
Well, I hope that you are 100% correct, Emma. Because if you're not, we're in for a ride and a half on that one. So we seem quite content with Evans. We've said there's going to be more players potentially coming through the door. Williams already pointed out that he thinks Watson's going to be our signing in the summer, but will take time because of her age. But she has great potential. There's been other names that have been mentioned. Carolyn's been mentioned. Jay-Z, not the singer, the Brazilian, has been mentioned as well. So many names always in the pipeline. We'll just go for a quick round. Is there any name that has been mentioned with United that you are looking forward to hopefully seeing in the starting 11? Sarah?
Jay-Z, if that is indeed how you pronounce it. I hope she can rap. People have just been...
I hope she doesn't put the rap into crap, but we'll see.
People seem very excited about her, and I can't claim to have seen a lot of her, but she does sound like a very exciting player. So, fingers crossed. Yeah.
Okay, so one vote for Jay-Z. Charlie, what are you going for, Blake?
Is anyone after me going to say Carolyn? Because I've got another one that I can say. Is anyone going to say that? Okay, right. Okay, so
Charlie, go on.
No. So Carolyn for me. Super excited about the potential of that one. Although if that goes ahead, it might not be until January. I think unless United stump up the big bucks.
As long as she's not injured when she comes in, I think we'll be quite content.
Yeah, that's my worry. Is it will jinx her. So you say yes to January, and then she She dislocates her knee or something. Touch wood, she doesn't. But she's exciting. She's my favourite sort of footballer. So, and this from when I was a kid. So just like commits defenders, like just runs and runs and runs at the back line. Just really, really good footwork as well. Likes a bit of a trick. She's got pretty good goal outlet as well. So I think 8 or 9 goals in 13 games. Played in the NWSL this season and has performed really well for Brazil in their recent games. But she also works really hard, like defensively from the front. If you look at how many interceptions and how many times she regains possession as the furthest most forward player, I think that really, really fits with Mark Skinner, and that would further develop the change we've seen this season, which is how often United regain possession in the attacking third has been a massive game changer for us in the recent season, and she would be perhaps even better at that than what we already have. So she would be the one for me. Fingers crossed we can get her, and if we did, I would love us to just stump up that bit extra to get her over the line and playing for us at the start of the new season. That's what I'd really want.
Would be amazing, and I just want to hear everybody singing "Sweet Carolyn." That's what I want to hear. Bop, bop, bop. Speaking of bop, 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 Jennifer Jordan wants pop, 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 please. Which I'm not convinced is on the horizon, but yes, that would definitely be a heck of a sign-in. Helen, anyone you've got your eye on that Mr. Skinner should pay attention to?
I don't know if we've been linked with anyone else. I saw a thing of maybe Pearl Maroney.
It's a beer, isn't it?
Is she a right back or a left back? Or can she do both?
Left back. She might be a left back. I don't know.
Can I say if Kirsty Hansen comes back, and we can give Leah Galton a rest occasionally, because I thought Leah looked a bit knackered towards the end of the season.
Be interesting. For Defo would be interesting. Okay, but yeah, Kirsty Hansen sounds good to me. Emma?
I'm just excited at the prospect of bringing in a prolific striker. I like the links to Carolyn and JC a lot. But yeah, if Hansen came back as well, that would be a good one. But yeah, just bringing in more goals. I don't mind who from, just more goals.
No, absolutely sounds it. Apparently, I'm a world-class centre forward, judging by our conversation we had on Monday. So who knows? Could be available for the right price. But we shall see. Right, we were going to have a little chat about contracts. We might do that in just a second, but we do have to, I think, when we're talking about people coming and going, we've got to say a few words about Martin Howe. It's the first time we've really had the chance to talk about him. How big of a loss, Sarah, do you think someone like Martin Howe will be to the squad in general? His passion was undoubted. You could see that on the pitch after games. He loved it here. Obviously, he's been given an opportunity elsewhere. But what's your thoughts on Martin Howe going, and do you think that affects the club in some ways more than some of the people that are leaving as it stands at the moment, because of the fact that he could be so integral to the tactical side of things as well?
Yeah, I think it has to. I think that can easily be overlooked because a lot of it you wouldn't necessarily see either. Obviously, you can see the passion and everything, but the relationship with the players, that's a big part of it. And that was obviously clearly very good. I wouldn't be worried about it. Like, everybody moves on at some point, and obviously it sounds like a great opportunity for him as well, getting that head coach role in Norway, which interestingly, same club that Lisa Nelson came from. So, but yeah, I wish him all the best with that, and sorry to see him go, but hopefully we can bring in someone who's, a really good replacement.
No, absolutely, I would agree. Charlie, you saw a lot of Martin Howe when you were there watching them. So matches that I saw, the game against Arsenal was just unreal. The passion in his eyes, as I said, and we're going to miss Martin Howe, aren't we?
Yeah, loads. He was a really strong character. I think, particularly under since Mark Skinner's come in, Martin Howe has had more prominence on the touchline than he had when Casey was there. I think he was more in the background then, whereas he's clearly been front and centre. He's been the mouthpiece, hasn't he? And he's been integral to that coaching setup and just as worthy of all the praise as anyone else who's contributed to the women getting into the Champions League this season. I think I alluded to at the start of the show that's almost the bigger thing for me over the summer is looking what happens to that coaching lineup now. I do wonder if it was Charlotte Healy that comes in. I think she'd be perfect, but then obviously you do need someone else in. But he's been amazing. He's been my husband's been to a few games this year, and his favourite thing about the games has been Martin Howe at the end. Because I've always loved managers and coaches that react like that react how we react to goals and to last minute winners. And you could feel that he was right there with us, like on the touchline, same emotion that we were feeling. And it kind of builds that connection between the club and the players and the fans that we're all wanting the same thing. And he epitomised that really. So he'll be a massive loss. But again, like Helen said, like the players that have left, he's another person that's left and spoken really positively about the experience that he's had. The club he's gone to are very lucky to have him. But I also wouldn't have thought that was a surprise, a sudden departure. I expect that was maybe something that the club have known that is coming and has been a contingency plan. And may end up looking like an absolute pillock. And we don't get a replacement. We don't get any replacement players because we haven't planned for any of this. Although I'm sure that's not the case. But yeah, massive miss Martin Howe is as a character, but also in his abilities just as a coach as well.
Fair play. Helen, can you blame Martin for wanting to go to sort of spread his wings, I suppose, really, and have a chance to be the number one rather than the number two?
No, not really. I think a bit like when you're a second choice goalkeeper, you might not say it, but everyone knows you'd rather be in the first position, playing all the time or having more influence in the coach's case. I mean, I think he did work well with Mark. I think they had a good relationship from what interviews I've seen and read. So his ideas and stuff, I think, were taken into consideration. But of course, at the end of the day, Mark's got the final say. So yeah, good for him. I think it'll be a big loss because I think he, in training, at the matches, in the dressing room, just had a really good relationship with all the players and just seemed like he was having the time of his life and everyone just enjoyed being around him and everything. So I hope they can get someone who's as enthusiastic and passionate to, as his replacement, whether that's internally or externally. Just get the right person in.
Absolutely. I mean, Emma, your thoughts on Martin Howe, and what do you reckon about Charlie's shout there that maybe Charlotte Healy could potentially step into that position? Because I've got to say that was a name that entered my head as well as someone who could potentially step into the job ready made.
Yeah, I think Charlotte Healy would be a good natural successor to the role because obviously she has the connection with the team already that Martin did. Although I do think Martin will be a big loss because if you go to any game, watch any game, and you look at the touchline, he's always there. You always see him giving the instructions, cheering the team on, sort of thing. I think and he was obviously so connected to the club and all the players. So he was a really good character, obviously the perfect character to go and be a head coach elsewhere. But I think we definitely need someone who has those similar qualities, and I think Charlotte Healy would be a good shout.
Fair points. I think it would be as well. Charlie, I'm just going to come to you on this question first because I know you want to dip out shortly. But I just wanted to have a quick chat about the contracts because, again, looking forward, we've mentioned already Toon and Nielsen are on until 26. Jade Riviere, Millie Turner, May Letitia and Grace Clinton are all there till 2025. Until the end of next year, we've already got Katie Zellum's obviously there. Fuso, another one we haven't mentioned. Will she be coming back or not? Leon, she's due still to end her contract next year, but we've not seen much of her. She's been out on loan. Rachel Williams could potentially be leaving next year or retiring. Who knows? Depends on how she feels. Garcia and Paris. Galton and Hanson would end in 24 as well, but they also have an option. And then, of course, you've got the ones this year that we still, we've got options, obviously, still on Earps, Baggs, Blundell, Thor, Vilderbo-Risa, Ladd, Carrie Jones, Martha Thomas. Ethan Mannion's the only one who's out of contract, but who knows? You still might sign. No clue what's going on backstage, shall we say. How do you feel about the contract situations? Are there any there that we've mentioned that sort of make you a little bit nervous, especially when we look at Russo and Honor being taken to the end of their contracts and just being allowed to leave? Do you fear keeping the nucleus of the side together as we have? Could we see big changes over these next year or two?
Well, I wasn't on edge about the contract situation until you just sat there and listed them all.
A great holiday.
In chronological order. But again, it's still not unusual in women's football. It's still not unusual. I kind of expect, again, that I still think some of those players will still go this year that you've mentioned. I have a feeling that 2 or 3 of those will still go. Thanks, Jennifer. That'll be brilliant. But I expect a good number of those to sign extensions, like the likes of sort of Ladd, Aoife, Blundell. I expect them to stay. I would start to get antsy if it got to next summer and Maya wasn't tied down for a little bit longer. I would start to be a little bit uncomfortable about that. And obviously Garcia, you have to be thinking about as well. Just trying to be really zen about it. I don't think we'll ever be short of players wanting to come to Man United. As long as they're good enough, yes.
Contracts, wow.
Yeah, not majorly worried. I expect quite a few of those to sign extensions this summer, is what I'd expect to happen.
No problems at all.
I mean, I just feel like control the controllables. We can't control any of it, so just enjoy the ride. Very
true. Well, I understand you're about to try and follow Tounkara across the tunnel. So, happy stalking. Enjoy that. I'm joking.
I'd be surprised if she's gone through the channel tunnel from Folkestone. I'm sure she's probably flown out there. But yeah, I'll give her a wave if I see her. It's been a pleasure.
She might wave that, probably with her good hand, though. Not with a risky
yeah,
wave.
with her good hand. Hopefully. Enjoy the rest of the show, guys. See you soon.
Cheers, Charlie. Have a good holiday. Thank you very much. And the same question, really, to the remaining 3 of you. Sarah, anything there on the contract situations that worries you a little bit with how we're dealing with our contracts over the course of the last few months?
Yeah, it is hard not to be worried, but I suppose, to break it down, like whoever wants to stay will stay. So, and then the whole thing of, do we want players who don't want to be there is the other question. I'd be worried about the likes of Mary. There's a few I would be concerned about. I think Aoife actually, I think she did an interview over here in the last week or so before the France game, and she did indicate she was going to sign. So pretty sure that's going to happen.
Rumours abound that Mannion shall be signing another contract, but yes, as ever, nothing's ever confirmed. So we are still very much in the land of maybe.
Yeah. So don't quote me on that, but I'm kind of worried, but I'm trying not to get too worried because, as Charlie said, like this kind of situation is common. It's just the way it is at the moment in the women's game. But yeah, those who want to stay will stay, as obvious as that sounds.
Absolutely. I mean, Jennifer mentioned about the 6-year contracts, and then Lunga says that's a bad idea based on the way the game is growing. But Sporty makes a good point with the agents at the moment. They wouldn't want it to be 6-year contracts because obviously they're going to be constantly wanting to get bigger salaries for their players as well, which I understand. We just renegotiate the contracts. I can see where Jennifer's going with this in the security side of things for the teams. But I don't even think you get 6-year contracts in the men's game, really. So I think we're probably wishing it a little bit too much. But even the 3 or 4 year contracts would be a little bit more stability rather than the 2 year ones that lots of them seem to get at the moment. Helen, where do you stand on the contracts? Worried at all? Mary Earps is going to be out of contract this time next year. We could be sitting here saying is Bagley ready to be number 1 at this point next year?
What a thought.
I thought indeed. We're ending it on a high.
No offence to Sophie Bagley, but who's the level of Mary? Not many. But at the same time, if Mary does go, she's more than given her worth to the club, a bit like Honor. So, if the club can't match her ambition, be that in competitions, progress, wages, whatever it is, then so be it. I've not really got that into knowing how long people's contracts are. I don't know if that's just passed me by or I haven't looked up the information. I'm not really aware of it.
Well, do you know something, Helen? I'm glad you mentioned it because I do love a good opportunity to plug the work of Jamie Spencer. He's doing God's work, I feel, when it comes to Manchester United women. And if you go on 90minutes.com, literally just type it in, Man United women's contracts, Jamie Spencer, 90 minutes, anything like that. It will come up and it's brilliant. He updates it all the time with new players and old. It's literally the only website. Whoa, Tiger, shush. I don't know what we're watching. Something going on with Wimbledon there. Crikey, it's 90 minutes. Prime Zidane. It's Kyle Walker. Why is he on an advert? So be careful. If you get to 90minutes.com, you might get Kyle Walker talking to you. But yeah, there it is. It's the Man United women's contracts and when they expire. And it literally just takes you through every single one of them and just keeps it all neatly tied up with a bow. So absolutely do look for that because it's by far the best website in the world for me to be able to see where the girls are and whether they've signed or not. So there you go. That's the place to be. So good. Well done. That's Jamie Spencer's £5 donation sorted. I'm joking. We don't get any money from Jamie. Anything else you wanted to add on the end of that, Helen?
No, but I can no longer claim ignorance. So thanks for that.
I try my best. That's what we're here for. We hate misinformation. Emma, worried about these contracts? Not fast. Control the controllables. What's your take on it all?
Well, I was reading the 90-minute thing not that long ago, and me and my friend were having a bit of a stressy conversation about the contract. But I think for the ones who had the option for next year, I think all the options will be triggered, except for the ones who want to go. But I think most of them will be triggered. I think there's probably negotiations ongoing already, and that might be why they've not all been announced yet, maybe. But I think, I'm hoping at least, that throughout the season, contracts will be renegotiated for obviously the ones who expire next year and beyond that. But I mean, I wouldn't put anything past the running of United, but I'm hoping that we have it under control. But I think it'll be okay for now. As long as the team just doesn't completely fall apart, we'll be fine.
Well, I mean, you'd hope not, wouldn't you? And as we know, there is definitely lots of planning. We were in this same boat last season. We were all sat here going, oh my goodness, where are the players? Why haven't we got any signings coming in? And then before you know it, there was a clutch of them. We had Paris announced, we had Garcia announced, and they all just sort of came in. Obviously, we had the defenders announced first. So I remember us all sitting there going, what's going on? Where's our players that we need? We finally got some. So it'll happen. I'm sure that the club will absolutely keep us up to date as soon as they can be bothered. And as soon as they feel that we are worthy enough to find that information, they will let us mere mortals know. But until then, we will continue in the land of speculation and make-believe. So there we go. Listen, that's another fans forum pretty much done. We were going to have a little chat about Katie Zellum briefly because of the fact that she was named today as a replacement for Steph Houghton on the, I think it was the PFA board, was it, or something like that, where they get the ability to go out and basically like the players' union. I think really she just gets to go and give all their gripes and things they want to change there, which is quite nice. Because I like the idea that Katie Zellam's a leader, not just at Manchester United, but also across the WSL. So good news for Zelly. Congratulations to her. Girls, it's been absolutely brilliant. My thanks to Charlie, obviously, who's decided to go off and do her packing. Thank you guys. Emma, where can people find you? Do you want people to find you? Maybe you don't. Maybe you prefer to remain anonymous and hide. I don't know.
Well, I mean, if you want to see my Twitter, it's a mess, but Emma X Maguire.
There you go. So if you want to go and follow Emma, that's where she lives. Helen, would you like anybody to find you, or do you want to just hide behind your cats?
I'm not totally hiding, but yeah, what's my thing? I don't know. I have a weird username, so act like a toad.
Ah, yes, the Madonna song.
Not quite.
Absolutely. And Sarah, the reason why we did the whole thing really because it's time for that weekly drop of your little
Shameless plug.
I can sit here and try and remember every time. I always know it's Red Devil Women blog. Is that
it? No blog, just Red Devil Women.
That's why I can't find it. I thought it was a bit rubbish the one I was looking at. There you go. That's why. So we got the right one.
Yeah, so that's reddevilwomen.com, and then same thing on Twitter. And I think Twitter generally is a mess so right now. So yeah.
Absolutely. So there we go. And if you're interested in sending any articles across, Sarah will have a lovely little look at those for you as well. So brilliant. Thank you very much, everyone. It's been an absolute pleasure. It's been a pre-season fans forum with loads of stuff to talk about. And once again, pretty much nothing unsubstantiated, really. So we shall continue. What have we got coming up? Like I say, go and watch the Gemma Evans show. That was quite good. Connor's got some more stuff sorted out. There'll be loads. Just look at the Twitter would be my honest answer to that one because I'm not really sure what's going on. I'm only here because Connor asked me to be. So there we are. So we shall see. But yes, keep your eye on the Twitter. And the men, our channel will be back on Saturday for Saturday Night Live, where we'll be talking about the greatest team ever. We are literally going to be going through Man United players, young and old, from all the way back. Could Billy Meredith make it into the starting lineup? Or would it be Wayne Rooney? Will recency bias get us through? Who knows? We will be there to have a look. So join us Saturday, where we'll be looking forward to that. Until then, keep your eyes on Twitter, and thank you very much. See you all next time.